Climbing the mountain, Purgatorio as a spiritual work. In the mythic architecture of Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy, Purgatorio is the middle realm, the bridge between the descent into shadow and the ascent into light. It is often overlooked in favor of the dramatic torments of Inferno or the celestial harmonies of Paradiso, but Purgatorio is arguably the most human, the most intimate, and the most spiritually instructive of the three. It is the realm of transformation, where the soul, having named its distortions, begins the slow, sacred work of integration. For survivors of generational abuse, institutional betrayal, or cultic control, Purgatorio offers a mythic framework for healing. It affirms that awakening is not a single moment of rupture, but a sustained journey of reclamation. It teaches that discernment must be followed by embodiment, that truth must be metabolized, and that love must be redefined. In this way, Purgatorio becomes not just a literary masterpiece, but a spiritual map for those who have chosen to rise. The threshold, from witnessing to willingness. Dante emerges from hell not triumphant, but changed. He has walked through the architecture of distortion, witnessed the consequences of betrayal, and named the patterns that govern the shadow realm. But naming is not enough. Healing requires movement. Purgatorio begins at the threshold between clarity and transformation. It is the moment when the soul says, "I am willing to do the work." This threshold is subtle but profound. It marks the shift from survival to sovereignty. The seeker no longer defines themselves by what was done to them. They begin to shape who they are becoming. In real life, this is the moment when survivors begin to integrate their truths, not as burdens, but as sources of wisdom. It is the moment when the soul chooses to climb. The mountain as metaphor. Purgatory is not a pit, it is a mountain. This inversion is radical. The descent into hell is passive, the climb up Mount Purgatory is active. Each terrace represents a distortion being purified: pride, envy, wrath, sloth, avarice, gluttony, lust. But these are not sins in the moralistic sense, they are psychic residues. They are the ways trauma calcifies into habit, the ways survival strategies become prisons. To climb the mountain is to shed what no longer serves. It is to confront the internalized patterns that keep the soul tethered to distortion. It is to choose, again and again, to rise. The mountain is steep and the climb is slow. There are no shortcuts. Each step requires intention, humility, and grace. This is the spiritual ethic of Purgatorio. Transformation is earned, not imposed. Healing is relational, not transactional. The soul must participate in its own liberation. Rituals of purification. In Purgatorio, souls are not tortured, they are transformed. Each terrace involves a ritual of purification. The proud carry heavy stones to bow their heads. The envious have their eyes sewn shut to learn inner sight. These rituals are symbolic acts of rebalancing. In real life, healing often requires ritual. Not in the performative sense, but in the embodied, intentional sense. Survivors may engage in practices that mirror these purifications: silence to counter rage, stillness to counter avoidance, truth-telling to counter shame. These are not punishments, they are recalibrations. The spiritual ethic of Purgatorio is not retribution, it is restoration. The rituals are not imposed by an external authority, they are chosen by the soul. This affirms the sacred right to self-directed healing. It honors autonomy, timing, and discernment. The role of community and companionship. Unlike Inferno, where souls are isolated in their suffering, Purgatorio is communal. Souls sing together, pray together, climb together. This reflects a profound truth: healing is relational. While the descent may require solitude, the ascent often requires support. Dante is still guided by Virgil, reason, but he also begins to encounter other companions. These figures offer wisdom, reflection, and encouragement. For survivors, this mirrors the importance of chosen family, therapeutic allies, and mythic mentors. Healing is not done alone. It is done in the presence of those who honor the journey. This communal dimension is not sentimental, it is structural. The mountain itself seems to respond to the soul's progress. Time bends, space shifts, and grace flows. This affirms that healing is not just personal, it is cosmic. The universe conspires to support the soul that chooses to rise. Time, grace, and the ethics of slowness. Purgatory is a realm of time. Unlike hell, which is static, and paradise, which is eternal, Purgatory unfolds slowly. Souls climb at their own pace. There is no rush, no shortcut, no bypass. This is a radical spiritual ethic. In a culture obsessed with speed, productivity, and instant transformation, Purgatorio teaches the sacredness of slowness. Healing takes time. Integration is gradual. Grace is not a lightning bolt, it is a steady flame. For survivors, this is liberating. It affirms that there is no deadline for healing, no expiration date on awakening. The mountain will wait. The climb is sacred. This ethic also protects against spiritual bypassing. It affirms that discomfort is not failure, that grief is not regression, that confusion is not weakness. It honors the non-linear nature of healing. It allows the soul to unfold. The fire of transformation. Near the summit of Mount Purgatory, Dante must pass through a wall of fire. This is not punishment, it is purification. The fire does not destroy, it refines. It is the final threshold before entering paradise. This fire is symbolic of the soul's willingness to be changed. It is the moment when the seeker releases even the subtle attachments to distortion. It is the burning away of illusion, fear, and control. In real life, this fire may come as a moment of deep grief, radical truth, or profound surrender. It is not comfortable, but it is necessary. It is the alchemical moment when the soul becomes light enough to rise. This fire is not imposed, it is entered willingly. Dante hesitates, but he chooses to walk through. This affirms the sacred power of consent. Transformation cannot be forced. It must be chosen. Beatrice and the return of love. At the summit, Virgil departs. Reason has guided Dante as far as it can. Now Beatrice appears, love, grace, divine wisdom. She is not a romantic figure. She is an archetype of sacred love that sees clearly and loves fiercely. Beatrice confronts Dante. She names his distortions, his betrayals, his avoidance. But she does so with love. This is the final purification, to be seen fully and still loved. For survivors, this is the moment when love is no longer conditional. It is no longer tied to performance, obedience, or silence. It is love that honors truth. It is love that liberates. Beatrice's presence affirms that love is not the opposite of discernment, it is its fulfillment. She does not coddle Dante. She calls him into alignment. This is the spiritual function of love, to illuminate, to challenge, to restore. Purgatorio as a healing framework. To read Purgatorio as a spiritual work is to reclaim it as a healing framework. It offers a mythic structure for integration, discernment, and transformation. It affirms that the soul's journey is not linear. It is layered, relational, and sacred. We can imagine a contemporary protocol inspired by Purgatorio. 1. Willingness to climb. The seeker chooses to rise. They commit to the work of integration. 2. Naming the residue. The seeker identifies the patterns that remain. Pride, shame, avoidance, rage. These are not sins, they are echoes. 3. Rituals of rebalancing. The seeker engages in practices that restore balance. Silence, movement, truth-telling, creation. 4. Companionship and reflection. The seeker surrounds themselves with allies who honor the journey. Healing becomes relational. 5. Embracing slowness. The seeker honors time. There is no rush. The climb is sacred. 6. Passing through fire. The seeker surrenders to transformation. Illusion is burned away. Truth remains. 7. Receiving love without control. The seeker encounters love that sees clearly and does not possess. This is the beginning of paradise. This framework can be adapted for personal ritual, therapeutic practice, or mythic storytelling. It honors the complexity of healing. It refuses to bypass. It centers the seeker's autonomy. The mythic function of Purgatorio. Beyond its psychological and spiritual dimensions, Purgatorio serves a mythic function. It reclaims the middle space, the liminal realm between rupture and revelation. In many traditions, this space is feared, ignored, or pathologized. But Dante sanctifies it. He affirms that the middle is not a void, it is a crucible. This has profound implications for survivors. It affirms that healing is not about returning to Eden or escaping into transcendence. It is about becoming. It is about walking the mountain path with clarity, courage, and grace. Purgatorio also reclaims the sacredness of effort. In a world that often equates spiritual worth with ease or enlightenment, Dante's vision insists that transformation is earned through attention, humility, and labor. The climb is not glamorous, it is gritty. but it is also holy. This mythic framing allows survivors to see their healing not as a detour, but as initiation. It affirms that the work of integration is not secondary, it is central. It is the place where the soul is forged, reclaiming the middle as sacred. In many spiritual and psychological models, the middle space, the in-between, is treated as transitional, temporary, or even shameful. It is the place where one is no longer asleep but not yet awake, no longer bound but not yet free. Dante's Purgatorio challenges this view. It affirms that the middle is not a waiting room, it is a temple. This reframing is especially powerful for those who have left systems of control but have not yet found their new mythology. It affirms that the climb itself is sacred, that the questions, the grief, the uncertainty, all of it belongs. All of it is part of the ascent. To reclaim the middle is to reclaim the right to be in process. It is to reject the binary of broken/healed, asleep/awake, damned/saved. It is to honor the spiral nature of transformation. A survivor's reading of Purgatorio. For survivors of cultic family systems, institutional betrayal, or generational abuse, Purgatorio offers a mythic mirror. It affirms that the soul's journey is not defined by the fall, but by the climb. It affirms that healing is not about perfection, it is about participation. Each terrace of Mount Purgatory can be read as a psychic layer of residue left by trauma. Pride, the mask of invulnerability, the need to prove worth. Envy, the internalized scarcity, the longing for what was withheld. Wrath, the righteous anger, the fire that demands justice. Sloth, the paralysis of despair, the exhaustion of survival. Avarice, the hoarding of safety, the fear of loss. Gluttony, the hunger for comfort, the craving for numbness. Lust, the confusion of love with possession, the legacy of violation. These are not moral failings, they are survival echoes. To climb through them is to reclaim the soul's original rhythm. It is to restore balance, clarity, and sovereignty. The ethics of self-directed healing. One of the most radical aspects of Purgatorio is its affirmation of self-directed healing. The souls in purgatory are not coerced, they choose to climb. They participate in their own transformation. They engage the rituals willingly. This affirms the sacred right to autonomy. For survivors, this is essential. Healing cannot be imposed. It must be chosen. It must honor timing, privacy, and discernment. It must protect the right to say no, to pause, to redirect. Purgatorio models this ethic. It affirms that the soul knows its own pace. This also challenges institutional models of healing that prioritize conformity, speed, or visibility. Purgatorio affirms that the climb is personal, relational, and mythic. It affirms that the soul's journey cannot be standardized. Toward paradise, the emergence of sovereignty. As Dante reaches the summit, he is no longer the man who entered the dark wood. He has named distortion, walked through fire, and received love without possession. He is ready to enter paradise, not as a reward, but as a reflection of his alignment. Paradise, in this framework, is not perfection, it is sovereignty. It is the state of being in right relationship with self, others, and the sacred. It is the realm where love is not control, where truth is not taboo, where presence is not performance. But paradise is not the goal, it is the emergence. The climb itself is the transformation. The mountain is the teacher. The fire is the threshold. The love is the mirror. Conclusion, the sacred climb. Purgatorio is not a detour, it is the heart of the journey. It is the realm where truth becomes transformation, where clarity becomes integration, where the soul learns to rise. For survivors, seekers, and sovereign souls, Purgatorio offers a mythic map for healing. It affirms that the climb is sacred, that the fire is refining, that love is possible after betrayal. Dante's mountain is our own. It is the terrain of the soul that has chosen to live in reaction, but in reclamation. It is the path of those who descend to name and ascend to become.